Hello and welcome back to my craft room. While I was having a good old tidy up in my room the other day, I came across this brilliant book that I bought a little while back, probably before Christmas. Treated myself to it from work, and I haven't had a go with it yet. So I thought, right, today's the day. So take you to my desk. Oh, I've got the camera in a really stupid place. And I'll show you what I've got. So here's the book. It's by Ann Mortimer, and the thing that's really different about this is that it includes tracings, just to kind of give you a bit of a head start, really, I suppose, and takes you step by step through all the techniques you need to do all of these gorgeous flowers in watercolour. So I thought, well, this is probably a really good way to get me into just exploring the world of water. I do use watercolour paints a lot, but I've always felt like I don't really use them properly as such. So I've picked this one. This is the one I want to have a go at, Anemone. So I haven't got all of the colours that Anne mentions. She does at the beginning, near the beginning, she gives you a palette there, and she lists all of the names of the colours. I've penciled them in by the colours there, and I'm just gonna have to, I don't want to spend a lot of money. I want to see what I can do with what I've got first, just to see if I like it before I spend any more money. I have already got a lot of palettes. Oh, not a lot, but several palettes like this one. Unfortunately, I haven't kept swatches or anything, so I don't know what all the colours are called. So until I've kind of got a bit more used to it, I feel like I won't know which colour to use. So I've got a few tubes of watercolour here. Now these are they're all kind of mid-price ones. They weren't the cheapest ones. So like the Winsor & Newton Cotman are their kind of, I think like their sort of student quality. So it's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive. I've got any prices left on them, probably out of date anyway. These are quite old and some of them are a little bit dried up in there, but not too bad. I've also got a whole basket of these, which I think I got in a really cheap set once. Well, for a start, when you pick them up, they just fit. I don't know if you can hear, but they feel really light, whereas when you pick these up, they're quite heavy and dense feeling. So initially I thought, something's wrong there. Just to show you what they kind of get like. Hang on, let's get a bit of tissue. So they've got this kind of weird, almost like partially dried up glue, jellyish kind of feeling to them. I don't think they've kept very well. So that one's going to go in the bin. This one I have used because I haven't really got another substitute. But it's got this weird kind of strangely viscous kind of texture to it. So I don't know how well it's going to mix with the other colours or anything. So we'll see. I think so. This is a rose red. This was to substitute for the permanent rose that Anne is calling for here. And I might just treat myself to a permanent rose when I'm at work tomorrow. Possibly. I'll see how I get on. As I say, I've got so much stuff already. I kind of feel like I don't want to spend any more until I'm really sure. If I absolutely love doing this, then it would make sense to invest in 3 or 4 more colours. But initially I'm going to see what I can do with what I've got. The first thing I did was to go through, so for this one, Anne suggests Quinacridone Gold, Aureolin, hadn't even heard of that, Alizarin Crimson, Permanent Rose, Winsor Red and Winsor Blue. Now, Quinacridone Gold is a colour I love, and I do have it in, I think I have it in water soluble oils and a golden acrylic. It's a lovely colour. I really love it, and but I don't have it in watercolour. So what I've done is, going by Anne's colour chart, I've tried to mix up as near as I can to the colours that she wants. And this is the little, quite limited palette that I've come up with. This is my substitute for the Quinacridone Gold. I mixed together some it's a mixture of these two. They've settled a bit now, but they'll look more like it once I stir them up again. It was a mixture of raw sienna with a tiny touch of Indian red that I happen to have, and a bit of this lemon yellow, and that came up with this colour, which I think is near enough. It doesn't kind of have that vibrancy of the Quinacridone Gold, for want of a better word. And then this Aureolin, which I'd never heard of, is this one. It's like a sort of deep yellow colour, almost like an ochre, but brighter. And I think I've managed a fairly good substitute for that, and that was just mixing together the lemon yellow with a tiny touch of that Indian red, and a tiny touch of the raw sienna. I believe I put in there as well, and that's, yeah, that seems to be okay. The Alizarin Crimson luckily I had an Alizarin Crimson. Doesn't look anything like the Alizarin Crimson in Ann's swatch though, which is not as pinky as mine, but I'm going to go with it. For the permanent rose, I've used this dodgy old cheap watercolour, so I don't know how that's going to work out. And then as a substitute for the Windsor red, I mixed together Indian red and the crimson hue. And then for the Windsor blue, I mixed together cobalt and indigo. It might not be exactly the palette that Ann's used, but I don't think that really matters. I've got 3 different shades of pinky reds. I've got a blue and I've got a yellow, so essentially I can mix the colours I need, hopefully. So that's that. Brushes, very simple. All Ann's suggesting is an old brush for mixing. Well, I used this one for mixing. It's one that I've used for acrylics and stuff, and that's fairly robust, so I used that one. I've got 2 jars of water, one clean, one for rinsing, and then a number 8 round. So this is a set of brushes that I try and keep them just for watercolour, and that I believe is a number 8. Yes, number 8. It's not great, it hasn't got a nice point to it really. I'm sort of tempted to, I think this is a better, yeah, I'm a little bit tempted to keep that one out as well. That's a number 11 actually, that's the next. Well, it'd be nice to keep it simple, but those definitely both come to a better point if you look at the, so this is a Pro Art. Well, it's not too bad, it's not too bad. I just think those are a bit, these ones are a bit nicer. These are Artify. So this whole brush was whole set was an Artify set, but I've put other bits in it as I go along. So I put this big flat one for washes. I think this sponge and this palette came with the set and sort of tuck into there. So it's a nice set if I was out and about. I've put this big kind of big round one in there, and some other smaller ones I've added in as well. And I always like to have these fan brushes because they're lovely for doing splats with. So anyway, I don't need any more of that for now. Let's put them to one side. And I'm going to use this little small pad. We get a lot of these small size pads of paper in the smaller boxes because they fit in the smaller box size, and I tend to find them a little bit small to work on for a lot of things, but they're nice for swatching, and I think for just this small thing it'll be ideal. So she says, prepare a well of permanent rose, one of Windsor red, Aureolin, I don't know if I'm saying it right, and one of Alizarin Crimson. Loosely mingle Windsor blue and Quinacridone Gold to make a green well. Lay a thin wash of permanent rose over the flower head with a size 8 brush. So I need to do the tracing actually first, don't I? One of my Casper bookmarks. Number 1 tracing, it's this one. So first of all, I'm just going to do a little, I'm just going to scribble over the back of it with a fairly soft pencil. I've got a 3B. It's handy having this, it saved me, I mean I could draw a flower, but you know, the bit I want to really get to is the watercolour, so and it'd be nice to be able to follow exactly along with what Ann's demonstrating. When I was a kid, we used to do this on Izal toilet paper. We used to use it as tracing paper. I can still remember, I can see maps, I can see a map of England with now wash your hands, or please wash your hands, across the top. I'm going to leave these all in here, I think, because I can always use them again then if I want to. So now I'm just going to trace over the image. Don't want to press too hard and leave a dent in the paper. They're coming out. Let's have a look, shall we? There we go. Okay, so let's see what Anne says. In this study of a red anemone, the separate petals are brought out with layering and some blotting out or lifting out. Layering is another way of describing the laying of a second wash upon the first wash once the first has dried. The pigment will not move or disperse, but because watercolour is a translucent medium, the first wash will shine through the second layer. If we paint another layer of the same colour, we show form and depth. If the second wash is a different colour, then a third colour is produced from a combination of the first and second washes. This can create harmonious and interesting effects. Ooh, I'm going to enjoy this. Right, so loosely mingle Windsor Blue and Quinacridone Gold to make a green. Wow. So these were my ones for standing in for Quinacridone Gold, sort of somewhere between the two. So I'm just going to say this is for the green, so I'm just going to see how it looks. Let's have a bit of this, and then a little bit of the Windsor Blue. Loosely mingle. I'm not sure what loosely mingle means. Let's just leave it like that. Okay, that looks loosely mingled. Do you think that's loosely mingled? Yeah. Probably means you'll just get some differences in there, which would be nice. Okay, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start. How exciting! So then step 1, lay a thin wash of permanent rose over the flower head with a size 8 brush, just over the flower head. And then you add a layer of aureolin, which is that yellowy colour, over the stalk and leaves. Okay, thin wash. I feel like this cheapy paint isn't going to have much pigment in it, so let's go with this. Let's go with this. I've done it very, very watery. It's quite nice. Because I'm not kind of making the picture up myself, I'm just following instructions. I can just really relax and just enjoy the process of the watercolour painting. This is what I'm hoping. So I'm actually using this size 11 brush because I just feel like it's got a nicer point on it. Oh, no, I've already got paint where it shouldn't be. It does lift up quite easily though, if you're quick. It does go such a long way, watercolour paint. What I'm hoping is that this will give me the confidence to then try some flower studies of my own. And if this comes out okay, I could turn it into a little birthday card for a friend or something like that. Now she's done a fairly uniform wash, so I won't let the paint sort of pool up too much. It seems to be okay, this paint. I mean, I'm not trying mixing it with anything else though, or doing anything fancy with it. It's literally just a very thin wash. Okay, I need that spongy thing. It's not a spongy thing, it's a sponge. A thin wash of my substitute aureolin over the stalk. Like a stalk and leaves. Although this brush is fatter than the size 8, I'm doing it, it's okay because it comes to such a nice point, it seems to be okay. But these shapes are quite fiddly, so I might have to go to the smaller one. Got a bit where I shouldn't have got it there. Let's see if I can lift that out. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go to that smaller one. That's that bit done. Doesn't look quite like Ann's picture yet, but you know. Step 3, drop some greens from the green mix wet in wet onto the stalks and leaves. Okay, so basically while this is still wet, is it wet enough? Just dropping them in, just dropping them in. I can do this, I can drop them in. It's easy. I quite like that because it's just mingled, not thoroughly mixed. I am getting some variation of colour there, it's quite nice. I think my mix of green looks a lot more of a dull shade than Ann's is. Allow to dry. Okay, but I'm not going to just wait for them to dry, I'm going to start on the petals because step 4 is paint a layer of Windsor red over the petals. And then step 5 is use paper tissue to blot out highlights on the top and bottom front petals. So a layer of Windsor red. So this was my substitute for the Windsor red. Okay. Got to be careful not to touch my greens there. This is really still a bit too pinky, I think. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to look like hers, does it? You do get very pinky anemones. I don't really care if it looks realistic anyway, as long as it looks pretty. I'm being careful now not to touch the green and the red because one would leach into the other if I did, and that would not be pretty. Okay, so while that's still red, still wet, I'm going to use this clean tissue to just lift off some of the paint to make highlights. Okay, I think that's all right. Step 6 is tidy up the blotted areas with some Windsor red on the brush. What does tidy them up mean? Not completely clear what I'm meant to be doing here. Oh, they're sort of defining those highlights really, but I know what I'm like. Once I start defining things, that's when I get to Quinacridone. You see, I feel like that's what's happened already. So the next step will be, oh, we use paper tissue to blot out the centre. Do you know, I've just realised I left the centre bare. I didn't even mean to do that. Okay, so I'm going to paint in the centre now then. Blimey. Okay. think what I'm going to do is just, I'm just blotting out the centre now. There we go. So that's where I am so far. For comparison, there's Ann's. So, you know, it's different, but I still like mine. So step 8 will be wet the stalk with clean water. Darken the green mix, Winsor Blue and Quinacridone Gold. So I guess I'll darken it with some more Winsor Blue, and add shadow and movement to the underside of the stalks and leaves. Is that dry? It's pretty much. I think it's dry enough. So, but I've got to darken this green mix. So let's put some more of the blue in. Oh, maybe not that much. Okay, let's have some more of the Quinacridone Gold. Okay, that's made actually quite a nice darkish green. Yeah, I think that'd be okay. First step was to put just clean water over the stalk and leaves. I'll make sure I don't touch that red again. She doesn't mention that, but I know that would be a bit of a disaster. I know she wanted it. You could want it to run in and mix together a little bit, and it would create a kind of brownish colour, and that could be quite nice. Okay, let's go in with a bit of this darker green then. So this is going to be the underside then. This is where I've just this is good for me, because it's I've got to learn not to be too controlled, which I do find a bit difficult, but you know. Anne's does look a bit more controlled actually. I'm going to see if I can lift some of that off as well, because I feel like my darker green has spread too much. What I might do is let it dry and even possibly go in with another layer to get that bit more of a definition. I think maybe it needs to be even darker. Let's add a bit of darkness now. Maybe I should have added more of it rather than a different. I don't know. Shouldn't give much guidance about that actually. Okay, so that is going to be even darker. So once that's properly dry, I might just go and add even more, another layer there. But while that's drying, let's have a look at the next step. So make up a dark mix of Winsor Blue, Winsor Red and the green mix. Suggest the flower centre. Suggest the flower centre, indicating individual stamens where possible. Oh, that's a bit vague, isn't it? Suggest. I think a centre would be a really good idea. I don't think that's what she means, is it? Okay, right. We can do this. Come on. Winsor Blue, Winsor Red and the green mix. So the Winsor Blue. Oh, it makes a lovely purple. Look at that. Oh. Look at these lovely colours coming out. And the green mix. Okay, I'm just going to suggest this centre now. Okay. that look like a suggestion of a centre? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave that to dry and see how it looks in a minute. Blot out the centre of the anemone with tissue to bring in light. Oh dear. Right, I'm dropping some more dark into it just so I can get a bit more of a contrast for the centre. It's interesting when you blot it up, you can see it then start to close in as the paint sort of seeps back in again. Okay, leave it alone. Right, so let's have a look while that's settling. Leave that to fester. To finish, mix some Alizarin mix some Alizarin Crimson with Windsor Red and darken the inside of the flower further to create shadowed areas. Right, I'm going to put this in front of me now to have that there as a guide. Do you know what I've only just noticed? I was just about to say it would help to have the original photo handy. Look. What have I not even noticed this whole time? The original photo. Right, so I'm going to mix together, I was going to put in, now I've seen the photo, I'm going to put in a bit more of an obvious blue here. So I'm already getting carried away and doing my own thing, but that's okay, isn't it? So she doesn't say to wet that again. This is just now, because this is now dry, so she'll be wet on dry now. So I'm going to mix the Alizarin Crimson with Windsor Red. I feel a bit more confident now I've actually got the photo to look at. Well, obviously I had the photo to look at all along, but now I've actually noticed the photo's there, if you like. Now if I do that, they're going to seep into each other, but I quite like that idea, so I'm going to let them. Well, I feel like I want more dark around there. Oh, look at that colour. Well, I'm going to leave that flower alone now because I'll probably just make it worse. But I am going to see if I can just add a bit more definition to these little leaves and the stem. Oh, too dark. Well, I will see how this dries up. I usually find they tend to kind of improve a bit as they dry, because the watercolour does all these amazing things all by itself. But generally I'm quite happy with that, really, for my very first attempt. That's okay. It's encouraging, and I really enjoyed the process. I didn't have to think too hard about it. So yeah, I mean, what have I taken altogether? Less than an hour, start to finish. I probably, you know, I should probably be able to just go poof, poof, poof and do that in 10 minutes and it might look better for it. But, you know, I've really enjoyed the process. I feel really chilled. I'll wait till it's completely dry and then I'll take a photo and put it at the end so you can sort of get a better idea of how it looks. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I think what I might do is just date them and then and keep them and just see how I improve or not as I work through the book. Although the colours have come out different from Anne's, I'm quite happy that, let me just show you. There we go. So hers were much warmer tones, but I'm sort of quite happy that with the colours I've got I can kind of cobble it together at the moment. So I don't think I'm going to spend any more money just yet, because I think once I've got a bit more used to it, I've got all these watercolour palettes as well. So I think it's a bit mad to unless there really is a specific colour I haven't got anyone. I'm a bit tempted by the Quinacridone Gold, I must admit, because I love that colour in other types of paint too. But yeah, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I thoroughly recommend this book. I think it's I've really enjoyed that first attempt, and I feel like I'm going to learn a lot as I work through it. So thanks very much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.